145 and we have to do.
How precisely?
We have read the para, we have to redo it.
Okay.
How precisely or by what stages?
Okay. So I'll read each sentence and then if it is clear, we'll go ahead. The chapter is the ascent of the sacrifice. How precisely or by what stages this progression and change will take place must depend on the form, the need, and the powers of the individual nature. The individual nature, how it has been formed by nature, okay? What is the need, what is your aspiration, and what are the capacities that you have. It's very, very clear. What is the form? The form is your nature's form. That means you may be very generous, or you may be very wide-minded, or the opposite, or you may be very outgoing, or you may be inward-going. So these are the forms of the nature, okay, not form of the physical form. The physical form has no importance. Then your need. Each individual will have a different aspiration. I want peace. No, I want intimacy with the divine. No, I want love. I want knowledge. I'm not interested in other things. So these are the needs, the aspirations of the individual. And finally, the powers. Your past lives, how much capacity have you developed? So Sridhar is saying these stages that is to be determined by these three things of the individual nature. Okay, very clear. In the spiritual domain, the essence is always one, but there is an infinite variety. And at any rate, in the integral yoga, the rigidity of a strict and precise mental rule is seldom applicable. Mental rules don't apply so much there. Okay, that's what he's saying. You should not be rigid. There's a lot of plasticity, and that is the reason why Mother and Sridhar used to give almost opposite instructions to other individuals. Okay, so each individual, they will see their need, they will see their power, and they will see their aspiration and what capacities they have, and then according to that, they will advise. That's a non-rigidity of a strict and precise mental rule. It is very seldom applicable, rarely applicable. For even when we walk in the same direction, no two natures proceed on exactly the same lines, in the same series of steps, or with quite identical stages in their progress. So each individual is unique. Each individual, the divine has made for a particular manifestation of his aspect. Everybody has got a different aspect. Similarities are there, of course, but there is also a difference. No two individuals are absolutely the same. It is true that physically also there are many sometimes resemblances. Yeah, two people and one can confuse them also. But nature also can be similar. People can be generous, two people can be very wide-minded, open, all these things are possible, but there's still a difference, each individual difference. So it may yet be said that a logical succession of the states of progress which it may yet be said that a logical succession of the states of progress would be very much in this order. So Sridhar is very, very widely saying that in the integral yoga there are three stages. Okay, so that's what he's going to say one by one. First of all, there's a large turning in which all the natural mental activities proper to the individual nature are taken up or referred to a higher standpoint and dedicated by the soul in us, the psychic being, the priest of the sacrifice, to the divine service. This is the first. And he is talking about, it's the Jnana Yoga here. He is referring, that's why he is telling you the mental activity, the natural mental activity. Note the word natural. Natural means all that you do with your mind, what you want to, the mental thoughts in natural, belonging to the body, mind, life, the natural world, not necessarily spiritual, proper to the individual nature, are taken up and referred to a higher standpoint and dedicated by the soul in us, psychic being, the priest of the sacrifice to the divine service. Now, the word priest is very interesting because the priest is the go-between the individual and God. Yeah? So the psychic being also is the one that turns you, your outer nature, to the divine. So that's why it's the priest of the sacrifice. If you remember the first verse of the Veda, okay, the Rig Veda. Okay. Yajyasya Hotaram Ratnadhatamam. So Hotaram, you are the one, the priest, okay, the one who is offering. So it's the psychic being that turns you towards the divine. That's why he is the priest. To the divine service. Next, the second. Okay. There is an attempt at an ascent of the being and a bringing down of the light and power proper to some new height of consciousness gained by its upward effort into the whole action of the knowledge. So here is including two movements, ascent as well as descent. That's the reason why he is referring only to the integral yoga and not other yogas. The other yogas are interested only in the ascent, but not the descent. No? Not everybody, but mostly. Buddhism, Mayavada, all the ascetic tendencies, these are all only interested in the ascent and not the descent. Okay. But here Swami is mentioning descent also. So, okay. So, bringing down of the light and power proper to some new height of consciousness, try to bring it down. What you have, you are on the ground floor and somehow or other you have managed to go to the terrace and now you have a wide view of the sky and all around you. Your knowledge has increased. You understand 10 times more. There is more light in the mind. But to bring down all this into the ground floor is not that easy. But there's an attempt. That's why this Rebbe is saying, he's using the word, there's an attempt at an ascent of the being and a bringing down of the light and power proper to some new height of consciousness. And that new height can be various stages. No? It can be the higher mind, it can be the element mind, it can be the intuitive mind, and finally the overmind. I'm not speaking of the supermind, but that's very difficult. And normally it can't be done in one life. A new height of consciousness gained by its upward effort into the whole action of the knowledge. So I'm just mentioning how Srimda was checking, okay, and verifying his new ascent. Every time he rose to another ascent, I've told you this before, but he tested it out by rewriting the first canto of Savitri. Okay. So how is it changing? What are the changes that's happening? So he knew that quality of the poetry is improving. Okay. So I told you there are 50 versions, 50 versions of Canto 1. Canto 1, Book 1. Okay. It's fantastic. All of them are in the archives. Okay. Now, gained by its upward effort. Here, there may be a strong concentration on the inward central change of the consciousness. Whenever Srimda uses the word inward central change, Srimda refers, when he says central being, he means the psychic as well as the self. Although they are different, yet there's a connection between them. So I'll just briefly discuss that connection as well as the difference. The difference is first. The self is infinite, impersonal. Okay? Infinite, impersonal. Whereas the psychic is not infinite, it is finite. It's a personal, and it is personal. Okay? That's the first difference. The second difference is that the self is static. It doesn't evolve. It is there everywhere, supporting the lower being. Just like a parent supports the child, although the child may not know it, but it is supporting. That's what the self does. The self is supporting the lower body, mind, life. It is supporting. The psychic being is not static. It is evolving slowly. And the self is not in the physical world. It is above But the psychic being is in the body mind life. It comes down into the level 1. It comes down and progresses through each life. Every life, it progresses 1 centimeter or 1 millimeter or 1 meter. It depends on the individual. So they said that the individual nature can differ and the power also can be different. So these are the differences. Then what's the connection? If they are all opposites, you can say that the psychic being is a representative of the self. Both are connected. Okay, you can say that the psychic being is the ambassador of the self. The self is the government in the country, in the spiritual country, and it sends out an ambassador, its own emissary or its own representative or its ambassador into the body mind life. And there it is evolving. And when the psychic being evolves fully, it goes back to the origin. The psychic being and the self become one. Okay, that's a connection. Clear? There are differences and yet there is a connection. Okay, that's and when he says, yeah, tell me.
What about the soul?
The soul is the psychic being undeveloped. I told you just now that the psychic being develops. No? So at the first stage, when the divine presence is there, even in a stone, that's a soul. It's those terminology. In the other terminology, in the normal way in English usage of the word soul is very confused. So we will not take that because they sometimes need even the vital being, okay, in the normal usage of the word soul. Even psychic being. When you speak of psychic normally in English, you mean the subtle. That's all. There is no clear-cut distinction. So the difference between soul, psychic being and self, you have to understand very, very clearly. I think we have made it quite clear. The soul is the undeveloped psychic being. It is there in everybody. It has to develop. How does it develop? By repeated manifestation and coming down into birth in a body-mind life. It takes lakhs and lakhs of lives to develop it. Okay. The Tantra says it takes 100,000 lives, 1 lakh lives to get to the human stage. Before that, it is the divine presence in a stone. Then it can go to the next level. It can go into a plant. The divine presence is there also. Then it can go into a living creature. Then finally it comes to man. But this is a very slow process. Okay. So that's
but the psychic being is only in human beings, no? The psychic being is only in the human beings, no?
It's right. But the beginning of it can be there in an animal also, but the beginning, not the awakened psychic being. Even in all human beings, the psychic being is often undeveloped. Those who are very alert and those who are developed, they have a psychic being. And when the psychic being is developed,
Rangada,
yeah, tell me.
Rangada, one question just related to this I'm asking. Can we say that our Swabhava and Swadharma is dictated by a psychic being?
Yes, you could say that, but it can also be dictated by the self. No? Look, in Sri Aurobindo case, he had the experience of the self first. But another thing, the dictation of your Swabhava is coming from the highest level, isn't it? When the soul is coming, I think it develops. But Archana is asking is an interesting question. But the determination of the direction of your activities in the physical Swadharma and Swabhava is determined right in the beginning itself. The seed. Okay, that would be the origin. But then the development takes place, and certainly the self and the psychic being have a part in that. They help you to go to the destined nature that you have. The destined nature is your Swabhava and the Swadharma in the physical world. You can say.
Rangada,
Yes.
the psychic being is finite, but it goes from one life to the other, no?
Yes.
Psychic being is being finite means when it merges with the self, that is why it is called finite, or why? It is not like you said the difference between self and the psychic being. The self is eternal and psychic being is finite.
Psychic being is also
No,
eternal.
it is not eternal.
Yeah, there's a difference between eternity and infinite. Okay. The infinite is in space, in a way of speaking, and the eternity is in time. Both are eternal, but one is infinite and one is finite. Finite means limited. Okay.
Rangada, one more thing I want to ask.
Yes.
When the psychic being becomes one with the self, like when it is fully developed, then after that, will the manifestation be there or not? I mean, like, will it be a part of the world or not?
That depends on the soul. Huh? That depends on the individual soul's choice. And this also seems as discussed in great detail in Milgram. So one soul may decide that it wants to, now it has realized that it is the infinite and it disappears into the infinite. Okay. The individuality goes back to where it came from. The wave sinks and becomes part of the sea. Your personality disappears and you have become part of the sea. This is one choice that the soul has. And that's what the ascetic does. That's what the Buddhists do. They disappear into the infinite from where they came. But there are other souls which continue to remain. I'm reading a very interesting book, okay? I'll give you the reference afterwards. Very interesting. You can also read that. Many souls remain in the subtle world, okay? Many souls remain in the subtle world. They continue to live for a fairly long time until they decide that they want to come down into the physical world again. That's another choice that you have. The third choice is you decide to come down into the physical world and take birth again. But when your soul is not fully developed, rebirth is a necessity. It's indispensable and unavoidable. The choice to do what you want to do is only when you have realized and liberated yourself. So every soul that goes after death, it goes into the subtle world. After realization, it has a choice. And the choice, as I said, is many. Okay, I've given you only three choices. One choice is disappear into where I came from. I don't want to have anything to do with the physical world. The other choice is that you linger in the subtle world for many, many years. Remember that in the subtle world, there is no time. But when we speak of many years, it's time in the physical world. 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, sometimes even more than that. Okay. Then when you have, and then the third choice for the liberated soul is coming down into the physical world again, taking birth. So these higher worlds are full of siddhas and rishis who have realized their souls. They all live there for a long time. That is what is meant by living in Vaikuntha. Okay? You decide to remain in that bliss and infiniteness. You are very satisfied. You continue to live there for a long time. Okay? You have the choice to remain there. Yeah.
Rangada, a little more, like, see, somebody can realize the self without going through the psychic.
Yes, you can realize
So
the
in
self.
that, but
Yeah.
but you can go through the psychic also and realize the self. In fact, after psychicization, you go to that. So my question is particularly for persons who go through the psychic.
Okay.
For them also, that option is open.
The
I
option
mean, like, they also have a choice, like.
That's right, absolutely. Those who are very much interested only in intimacy with the divine and they don't want to go to the self because they're not interested in knowledge. They are interested only in an emotional satisfaction with the divine. So that's the Bhakti Yoga path. No? You are very satisfied with your intimacy with the divine. Knowledge, you damn care. Who cares for knowledge? I have the presence of the divine and I am enjoying my relation with the divine. That also is a possibility. That's right. There are so many possibilities. It's not absolutely essential that you have to have all these experiences. It's only Sri Aurobindo Yoga that he says that if you want the full divine consciousness, you have to have all. You have to realize in Bhakti Yoga, you have to realize in Jnana Yoga, you have to also put on the nature of the divine in Karma Yoga. That's what he says. So there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of choices to the soul. The soul has a lot of choices. Yes.
And I have a question little related to this, but not fully related. Like I was reading on education, no, by the mother. There
Okay.
they say psychic education and spiritual education. So they make a difference. I couldn't understand fully, but what is psychic education and what is spiritual education?
Tarika, I'll have to actually look at the exact text. I can't say. But when you speak of spiritual, it means the principles in the higher world. Okay.
Hmm.
But when you mean the psychic, it means in the purification of the lower being is the psychic. So I would have to see the exact text and what mother means, because
Uh-huh.
yeah, these words are, words are limiting you, na?
Yeah,
So it
I
depends
could
on,
not fully understand. That's why I'm asking you, since it is related to this subject. So I'm asking you. Uh,
yes,
it meant for me like psychic education and spiritual education. Psychic education is something that asks you to come back to earth, whereas spiritual education is to go away from earth and merge with the divine. Is it
yeah, in
something
a way
like
you can say that. Yes, yes, you can say that. The psychic education
So,
is, yeah,
Ranganatha, can we say that psychic education is the experience of the Kshara Purusha, and the spiritual education is the experience of the Akshara and the transcendental?
yes, I think you can say that. That's quite a good way of putting it. Yeah, because the Akshara is the self and the Kshara is the psychic being. Correct. Quite right. You could say that. These are all terms which, yeah, you could say that, definitely.
You
So this,
know,
yeah, tell
may
me.
I say,
Yes, yes.
Mother has said that there is a separate psychic world existing. And the psychic being, once it leaves the body, goes
Hmm.
into the psychic world, assimilates its experience of that life, and waits there till it sees a light on earth. And it decides, okay, I would like to go here and take birth again in this place because this is the experience I'm going to get. So there
Okay.
is a separate psychic world where all these unevolved psychic beings go till they are fully evolved. And once they are fully evolved, they are like that water at the back of the dam, which is full of power, and which says, Divine, as and when you want to utilize me, I shall go back on earth to do thy work.
Okay, you have asked a very interesting question, but let me tell you, there are a few things which you must know. I had the same question. I know where is the vital world. I know above that is the mental world. I know above that is spiritual world. But where is the psychic world? Srimdo answers very clearly. There is no location for the psychic world. It's a condition of the soul. Okay, it surprised me quite a lot. I remember he said there is no location for the psychic world. Another thing that you must understand, Yasmin, is that all souls don't go to the psychic world. Okay, this is very important. Now we'll discuss that a little bit so that you have a clear idea. Suppose there is a being, okay, what happens to an animal? Okay, it takes birth again. But what is happens to it? It has got a body and it has got a vital. So when the body goes away, where would it go? It would go to the vital world. That's all. It doesn't have a mind. It can't go there. It doesn't have a mind yet. So from the vital world, again it takes a body. Okay. It comes down from the vital world and takes a body again. But suppose you have a mind, okay, then you go up to the mind level, but the psychic is not yet developed. So you go up to the mind level and take birth again. All these cases, rebirth is absolutely unavoidable because you have to train yourself and understand what you are. So you can go to the vital world and come down. You can go to the mental world and come down. You can, when you are developed, your psychic being is developed, then only you graduate up to the psychic world. Otherwise, you don't. You just come down from there. And this is very interesting because those cases of reincarnation, okay, and usually this reincarnation, and you remember the details of your life, is normally through an accident or a violent death. Okay, it's very interesting. Only all the cases of reincarnation, you will see that they are cases of accidents or a sudden death, murder or whatever it is, or in war. Okay, but those who are not accidentally or violently dead, they don't remember their past lives very often unless you are spiritually developed. So you can go to the vital world and come down. You can go to the mental world and come down, but you're not going to the psychic world. You go to the psychic, the more developed you are, the higher you go. This is something that you have to understand. All souls don't go to the psychic world. Because when you go to the psychic world only when the psychic is developed. Okay? So,
Ranga,
psychic,
thank you.
yeah, tell me.
This was very
Psychic,
nice.
the psychic world is not, there is no clear location for it. It's a condition of the soul. When you speak of a psychic world, it can be misleading. There is no word, there is only a condition. You may be in the psychic condition, in the mental world. Suppose you are very developed psychically. Then your body is shed. Where are you going? You are going into the vital world first. But you are psychicized vital. Then suppose you are even more developed, you go to the mental world. First you shed your body, then you shed your vital, then you shed your mind, and then finally you go with your soul and self or psychic being to the psychic world when you are really developed and alert, and then you have the choice to even determine what your next life will be and where you will take your birth. And that taking of the birth, you either decide the circumstances of your life through a mother or a father. That also is a very interesting thing. I was just reading a book where this choice is there. So this developed soul has a choice of where it wants to be born next so that it knows. Because when you are in the psychic, in the spiritual world, there's a lot of knowledge that you have. Okay, and that knowledge will tell you this is what I have to develop next. So you decide the circumstances of your life and take birth again. So, Yasmin, you.
Rangana,
I thought
one more.
Okay, tell me.
I had another question. Like the Gita, in Krishna says again and again, you you realize the self and then me. Again and again, he says the self and then me. So
Okay,
the self is the spiritual, the consciousness, and me is the Purushottama.
that's
So
right.
there is no mention of the psychic being there, like realizing the psychic being and then the self and then me.
Yeah, in the Gita, the psychic being is not the quotation that you are giving. First self and then me. That is the spiritual words, and that me is the Purushottama. That's the supreme. That's uh,
So
the yeah.
is the psychic realization also explicitly explained in the Gita?
I don't think so, but they speak only of the devotion, bhakti. Okay, so the psychic being is not specifically referred to, I think, in the, but they are more concerned with the spiritual, the ascent part, and not the interior part in the Gita. Yeah, it's only Sri Aurobindo who stresses so much the psychic, because then your path becomes very, 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 very safe. Because if you go up first without the psychic, it can be a dangerous world. Okay. Because you have not, the steps are not built well, and the steps are not built well, you can fall. That can happen also. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, if we have, so Yasmin, what you formulated, I noticed two things. Number one, all souls don't go to the psychic because they may not have a developed psychic yet. You have only a soul which is not developed. So then you don't go to the psychic world. Number one. Okay. But a developed psychic, you do go to the psychic world after shedding one by one. The body is shed first, then the vital is shed. Sometimes the vital is not shed. When you have very strong desires and very strong attachments, the vital does not shed itself so easily. The form is very, very stiff and rigid, very well formed. So then you linger in the vital world for a long time, trying to realize your desires even without a body. You try to do that. That can be the phenomena of ghosts, or it can be non-ghost themselves, but you linger in the vital world. You linger for a long time. Sometimes you don't even know that you are dead. That's the funny part. Okay, this is a fact, actually a fact, and it got confirmed by the book I'm reading. It's a very interesting book. It's a Parsi lady. Maybe Yasmin knows about it, but I'll send you the book. Okay, it's a very interesting book. So it is the story of two children, okay, a Parsi family, and the two boys were very close to their mother, but the two boys died in a car crash together, and they go to the spirit world, and from there they start communicating with their mother. It's a very interesting book, and many things get confirmed. For instance, yesterday I was reading that book, and the phenomenon mother speaks about Benjamin. Okay, Benjamin was a gentleman in the ashram. He was a Christian Tamil French, if you want. He was an Indian, but he was a Tamil French. Okay? And his name was Benjamin. He used to speak French only. Okay, and he used to look after some of the departments, mattresses, pillow covers, caps, cycles, all these things he used to look after, which is now the children's dispensary. He used to be there. And when he passed away, okay, he didn't know that he had passed away. And he used to go and complain to mother all the time. Mother, why are they changing my room? Why are they disturbing everything? All the arrangements are going on. You do something about it. He used to go and complain to mother. It's all there in the agenda. Okay, it's very interesting. And mother says that I had to very carefully explain to him that you are not in the physical world anymore. Okay, so you are you are now in the spirit world. You don't have a body. You are not in the physical. She had to very carefully explain to him and help him to cross from one level to another level. I think all of you know Vishwajit Dana, and mother said about him that his work in this life is to help those who transit from the physical world to the psychic world after death. Very often they don't know that they are dead. Not very often, but it can happen. So there is sometimes confusion also in the soul. When the soul is not developed, okay, then this confusion also can happen. There are interesting cases, and Benjamin is one case which mother speaks about. Okay, so the Vishwajit Da's work in this life, I don't know if, I think many of you will know Vishwajit Da, though Pallavi and Tarika and maybe Shilpa also knows Benjamin, I don't know.
Yes, I know. I was
Yeah.
named him Boxer. His
Yeah.
pet name was Boxer.
Pardon?
His
No,
pet name was Boxer.
I
He
don't-
used to work with Dada. He used to work with Dada,
Ah.
no?
It is
Vishwajit
Vishnu.
No. Benjamin, I think he died much before most of you came here.
Whom we
No,
used to call
not
Vishwada,
Benjamin.
no?
Vishwajit Da.
Further.
No? Rangada, whom we
Vishwajit.
used to call Vishwada. That one.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I remember.
Vishwajit.
he is Tamil.
Vishwajita is still living. Okay, Vishwajita used to be with
Yes.
Dada. Yeah,
Oh,
Vishwajita we used to
That
be with
boxer.
Dada.
Boxer.
He was a boxer,
The
boxing.
boxing coach.
Ah,
That's-
Boxer.
So mother said about him that he has got his work in this life is to help the souls pass on very gracefully and very consciously to the next world. Sometimes it happens that they don't know, so they have to be helped. Okay, so that's the work that he does in this life. Yeah, mother has mentioned that in the agenda. Okay, so shall we go on to, we have got 10 minutes. Shall we finish the para?
yes.
Yeah, these things, well, I've given you some things. You have to think about so many possibilities are there. But very important fact is how developed are you? Sridhar said that very clearly in the earlier part of the sentence and the para. He says that progression to the ascent, okay, depends upon the nature and your aspirations and the powers that you have accumulated, the capacities that you have accumulated in past lives. So everything differs for each individual. You may go to a certain level, come back. You may go to another level, come back. There are so many school dropouts. They don't go to college. Exactly in the same way. Some go to college but don't do a PhD. Some go to college and get a PhD degree. So there are so many stages. A physical stage, a vital stage, and a mental stage, and a spiritual stage. So it depends on the soul. Each one does it in a different way. And the remembrance of past lives is usually for those who are going only to the vital world and coming back, or going sometimes after the mental world and coming back. Then the dissolution of the vital being or the mental being does not take place. And if the dissolution is not there, the memory is there. That's why you remember your past life. But those who go right up to the highest level and come back, the memory of the past life is effaced, because if it was there, it would be a burdensome thing for you. You have to start anew and explore new regions. And if you want to explore new regions, the old has to be forgotten. That is the reason why memory is effaced in developed souls. But you can recover that if you go even higher up and develop the capacity. If you are completely psychicized or realizing of the self, then you can remember your past lives. Mother has very clearly even spoken about some of her past lives, but Srivananda has referred only to one case, okay, very clearly, that he was in ancient Greece and he remembered his contact with Dilip Das, Dilip Kumar Roy, there in Greece. That is one he has said. But he, Mother has mentioned about Leonardo da Vinci, but it's not written down. It is coming from Champaklal's memoirs, okay, memories. He has got a book. Mother does not deny. She asked him, when they were looking at Mona Lisa picture, she asked him, do you know who is the artist? So Champaklal said, no, I don't know. And Mother said, Sri Aurobindo. So that is the proof that we have that he was Leonardo da Vinci. And when he was asked whether he was Leonardo da Vinci, Srivananda did not very specifically say yes, but he did say that Leonardo da Vinci summarized in himself so many, all these capacities and all that he described. Okay. So, but it is suspected that Srivananda also was Augustus Caesar, because all his military strategy, okay, it's very interesting. I'm making a little diversion, but it's very interesting. When the Second World War was on, Srivananda used to listen to BBC. He used to get a report from BBC, and a radio was installed in his room, okay, so that he could get the latest news, because he knew that the world war is the most hostile anti-divine forces are trying to delay the supramental manifestation. He knew that. That's why he was interested in what's happening, and he used to discuss in the evening talks, he used to discuss the military strategies, and he used to say, oh, this is a mistake. They should have used Air Force. Oh, this is a mistake. They should have attacked first another place. Like that he's going on discussing. Then when they asked him that, how do you know so much about military strategy? He answered, not in this life. Not in this life. So he must have been in a life where he knew all about military strategy. Okay, so.
I believe he was also Napoleon, because Napoleon's birthday is also on 15th of August.
I don't know. Maybe it's possible.
I vaguely remember Amal telling me something
Uh-huh.
that he may have been Napoleon.
Yeah, could be. But when did Napoleon pass away? Srivananda was born in 1870. Yeah. Okay. And so when did
Napoleon was before that.
He passed away much before that, no?
I think so.
Yeah. So that
We
is
have
possible.
to look up.
But There is no specific written text where Sri Aurobindo admits that. Okay. So anyway, so that's an interesting discussion we had. But you have to be very, very clear that the development of the individual is very important. And the development has got three aspects, as you said. Your nature. Are you a vital nature? Are you a mental nature? Or are you a psychic nature? What has been your past development through many lives? That is number one. Number two is what are the capacities that you have developed? And third, what are the aspirations of the soul? All souls, developed souls don't have necessarily a spiritual aspiration. Okay, they can be very, very something else also. So that's what is everything. Okay, we have got only 3 minutes. So we can't finish I think we can't finish the para. It's quite long.
But all these discussions, they are quite scary, no? Sometimes you feel you don't know anything at all.
Yes, that's true. And even what we know only mentally. We don't know actually. That's true. Because when you read, you gather information, but you don't have any experience. No? We don't have any experience. But we gather information from the writings of Mother and Sir.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right.
Mother has
Rangada, what
said,
is the name of the book that you said you are reading? What is the name?
Okay, I'll tell you. You can order it from Amazon or. Okay, I'll tell you the name of the laws of the spirit world.
Can you show the cover?
Here, the laws of the spirit world, and the author is Khurshid Bhavnagri. She is a Parsi. Khurshid Bhavnagri. Very interesting book. The language is very inaccurate, but the things said are quite accurate. Okay, you can get this book was given to me by Rukhsad to read. He ordered it from Amazon because in our discussions in the life divine and synthesis class, I have a class with them. Okay. Okay. Au revoir.
Thank you.